We got a WNST road trip up to the Meadowlands to see the New York Football Giants. We are not doing a Jets bus next week, only the Giants bus. Few seats left on that. But, of course, my eyes will be turned to the American League Championship Series as well as the National League Championship Series. And lo and behold, the Boston Red Sox will not be a part of that. Against all of my predictions, I thought the Red Sox would win the division. I thought that they would be the AL representative in the World Series. Tom King of the Nashua Telegraph up in New Hampshire, one of our pals from ESPN New Hampshire, may have thought similarly. I'm not sure, Tom. The Red Sox look like they just sort of ran out of gas over the weekend, man.
Well, it looked like they ran out of gas before the weekend, Nestor. They ran out of gas with about a week to go in the regular season, or about half a week to go in the regular season. They lost a bunch of games down the stretch. It really started with that Mark Teixeira grand slam that really KO'd them, and there was the night they ironically clinched. That seemed to take something out of them, and I don't know, Nestor. I've had the baseball playoffs in my mind are the toughest thing to predict outside of maybe the NCAA basketball tournament. It is really tough to figure out sometimes what happens in the postseason. And the thing with the Red Sox is, good pitching beat good hitting. That's what it amounted to. Even though the pitchers for the Indians, their starters other than Kluber, weren't supposed to be that great, but their game plan was good. And in the final game on Monday night in that series, the Red Sox decided to reverse their trend and take a lot of pitches against a guy who really hardly ever walks anybody, and Tomlin. And then of course, Cleveland had the Andrew Miller answer for a lot of their woes. And again, I've seen Yankee teams that have hit the heck out of the ball and won 100 games during a regular season go into the postseason and just not be able to do a thing offensively. That happens a lot in baseball, and that's what makes it so tough to predict, and that's what makes it such a fun game to watch in the postseason.
Well, we've talked so much about how different these postseason series are from a pitching standpoint, and having a good bullpen during the season probably means you got 4 or 5 guys that are going pretty good. Having a good bullpen in a 5-game series where you are up in the first one and up in the second one, it means having a good bullpen that's about 2 deep or 3 deep for 3 or 4 days if you're not using your bullpen, and if you have ace starters that are going to get you to the 7th inning, you can really slam the door pretty quickly with a handful of guys. The Orioles fell victim to that in Kansas City a couple years ago with that 7th, 8th, and 9th inning where you've got a couple of pitchers they can go every night. Every night they have a lead, and it turns into a 6-inning game. And I found that the Orioles were a little paper thin just on getting base runners on and rallies. The type of 3-run innings you need to have in the postseason in order to survive. I thought the Red Sox bats could not take 3 days off. I mean, it started to come to life late in the game in Game 3 on Monday night. It looked like they were going to sort of tough that one out and force Game 4. But I didn't think the Red Sox bats would go as silent as they did.
No, nobody did, and nobody expected it. And there was a lot of talk about all the David Ortiz celebrations distracting them and causing them to be exhausted. It's a lot of gunk. They just got shut down in their approach, and they just got shut down by good pitching, and that's what's going to happen.
It happens so quickly, doesn't it? Right?
Postseason.
I mean, it
goes in a flash. Everybody goes, oh, they did nothing in the postseason. It's only 3 games, I mean, they've gone through stretches during the regular season where they might not have hit for 2 or 3 games. And unfortunately, it happened in the postseason with basically a young team that next year, will have a lot of its nucleus back, but it won't have the big guy in the middle of the lineup back, and that's going to be something they're going to have to address. But, it's just, Terry Francona managed Game 1 to win it and not look ahead to Game 2. He had his ace going in Game 2, so he poured his bullpen out, emptied his bullpen, won Game 1, just depended on his ace to win him Game 2, and then he had some time, because it was a rain out. And then when it got to Game 3, he said, you know what, we're going to go for it in Game 3. We're going to try to win it in Game 3. And that's what they did.
He is Tom King. You can follow his journey out on Twitter at Telegraph_Tom K. He's a 30-year sports writer at the National Telegraph, Nashua, New Hampshire Telegraph, which is near my wife's hometown of Manchester, and also at ESPN New Hampshire, doing radio up there for 3 decades as well. You know, for the Orioles and where they were last Tuesday night, I mean, you're a good baseball guy, and I respect your thoughts on this, and I'm going to talk to every baseball person that I talk to in the offseason about this. You know, the Buck Showalter, Ubaldo Jimenez, Zach Britton triangle, it has really left a cliffhanger here in a way we really haven't had since Armando Benitez gave up a home run to Tony Fernandez in 1997 in a game that Messina was lights out in a Game 6. In a one-game playoff, which these wild cards really talk about a 5-game series presenting different strategies. One game's completely different, and to lose the entire season on the arm of Ubaldo Jimenez in an electric environment in Toronto with Zach Britton on the bench, I mean, all of us are scratching our heads about it. But I want to talk to baseball people about it because I don't think we're all nuts. I think Buck was nuts that night.
I think he was too. Now, look, I'm going to give you a high school football analogy, all right? And I've covered a lot of high school football in my day, and I've seen high school coaches with one running back who dominates a series, a drive, and then they get inside the goal line. I mean, they get inside the 10-yard line. They get in the red zone. And that running back never touches the ball.
Hey, man, we won the Super Bowl 3.5 years ago. I may have seen you at that New Orleans Super Bowl. I'm not sure. I see you at Super Bowls from time to time. We won the Super Bowl 4 plays from the 1-yard line, and all they did was run the football down the Ravens' throat and didn't run at the 1-yard line. Literally. That's how I wrote a book on the Ravens because I'm convinced if they ran the ball 4 times, they would have gotten in.
Well, look at Seattle, in Arizona 2 years ago.
Absolutely.
That's when I saw you then. And I mean, look, always don't get beat not using your best guy. Have your best guy do something for you.
Or against you in the case of Eckersley on Kirk Gibson. You know, Kirk Gibson hits the home run. No one's bitching that Eckersley in there. They say, well.
No, of course not. He got beat. He got beat. Even Eckersley turned around and goes, if you see the highlight of that, I watched it live. and if you see the highlight of that, you see Eckersley going, wow. He understood the moment. Zach Britton should have come in to pitch in that game. He should have come in instead of Ubaldo Jimenez. I wouldn't have even put Jimenez in the game, but once Jimenez gave up a base hit, he's out of there. You get Britton in. I don't care what Jimenez did during the month of September, whether he was one of your best pitchers down the stretch. You get beat with your best guy in a single elimination game. You have to do that. Don't understand what Buck Showalter was thinking there. And, I mean, it's just something that's everybody's going to be scratching their heads all winter about.
Yeah, I said, the only thing he can do to sort of wash it away is go win, and that's really hard to do. This might be that moment in a very, good managerial run here, the best we've seen since certainly Davey Johnson or Earl Weaver before that, where they've made the playoffs, they've been competitive. Right. The fans have stayed away, and that's another story altogether, but, they've been good, and this will be the defining moment of his career. Literally, unless they win a World Series, they'll be like, oh, remember that time Buck didn't go to Britton in the bullpen? If this is as good as it gets,
Yeah, Showalter's too good of a manager to have to go through that kind of legacy, but he put it on himself there. I mean, I don't understand the move. Another thing I don't understand, I'm going to ask you this. What was, if they did advance, if they did move on, and they had home games, what would the turnout have been?
I think they would have sold out in the end. See, the Orioles scalp their own tickets, right? I mean, it's pretty common practice, but they do that. They hold all the tickets back. They do it on opening day. They control the secondary market. I saw it on the playoff games. They were trying to get $65 for the upper deck corner seats. They weren't getting it. I mean, those tickets for ALDS 1 and 2, they were on sale. I had them on my screen. 4 years ago, you couldn't have bought those. They would have been sort of gone in a flash, or the Orioles would have held them back and tried to scalp those. They tried scalping the ALCS tickets 2 years ago in the Kansas City series, and in the end, they tried to get $300 for the club level seats, and they wound up getting $125, the day of the game or whatever. So all of that is going on. I think they would have sold the games out because the tickets would have come from 65 down to 40 and people would have bought them. But it was not one of those massive runs on tickets and everybody needed to get a strip of tickets. You could get in 12 and 14 when they were here. I bought tickets for a lot of those games. I think I may have paid $100 to sit in box seats, $110 to sit in really good seats, 10 rows behind the dugout. And I bought those an hour before the game started. That's where the market was, man, and then look, and I don't want to get too esoteric in this because I do want to talk about Tommy and the Patriots as well. Not you, Tommy, the other Tommy.
Right.
But baseball, as much as they have problems, and this is a great week to discuss this because, the Cubs played until 3:30 in the morning on Tuesday morning. If you are a Dodger employee, a ticket holder, a media member, a sponsor, if you got thousands of dollars tied up in those seats behind home plate at Dodger Stadium for Game 4, you didn't even know what the hell time the game started until 12:30 in the morning the day the game's played. And then they wonder why people... These tickets, they used to feel like a prize, like a Cracker Jack prize when I was a kid in 79 or 83 to have playoff tickets or 96. Now it feels like, well, let's see. Do I have to get a sitter? Do I have a job today? Do I have to call my boss today?
Oh, sure.
Am I off? Who's going to watch the dog? Who's picking up the kids from school today? Little Joni's got soccer practice and little Boo Boo's got basketball practice. And, I don't know how they expect in the modern era. I mean, that's why tickets for Game 4.
Nestor? But you know what, Nestor? I mean, everybody's got those issues. Okay,
but they exacerbate it by screwing with the fans by not telling them what time the games are starting, man. But in
Boston, all right, they had a game on Monday that they didn't know what time it would be until the rainout was on Sunday, and they had 39,900 some odd people, the largest crowd at 39,650, I think was the crowd, the largest ever at Fenway Park. If people are going to go, they're going to go.
Well, but that's because where you're from, people give a damn about baseball.
Well,
I almost dropped an S word because I'm on the internet.
Why don't people, that's my question. Why don't people give a damn about the Orioles after they got
Well, you have to ask the owner. It's the owner's job to market the team. It's the club's job to market the team. They've done everything they can do to me for 20 years to keep me away. They've pissed in my eye. They've spit on me, my wife, my family, my wife's illness, trying to swab again and again and again. This is just what they've done to me. This is why I don't go to games, but I'm only one dude. If I were the only pissed off one, there'd still be 48,000 people in the ballpark. There aren't. But let me say this, Tom, and I'll give you the whole forum on this because you're in a different spot where people really love the Red Sox. They really love the Patriots. They're into the Bruins if they are.
My question to you is, do they really love the Orioles down there?
Well, then there comes the point where you get priced out, right? And I'll say this on the Ravens. We love the Ravens around here. And this is not a knock on the Ravens. I think this is a knock on modern sports, bro. You and I have been at this 30 years plus, each of us, right? You and I over half a century together covering this from press boxes, buying seats, taking kids to games, doing charity stuff, doing it on the radio, television, all that stuff. The Ravens the last 2 weeks have had a major problem with two things: visiting fans and empty seats. And I know they played the Raiders and they played the Redskins. The Redskins had a game, the Nationals game got rained on and moved into 1 o'clock on Sunday, 38 miles away. Now, I'm not saying a lot of Redskins fans had tickets and said, I'm going to pick the Nationals playoff game over the going up to Baltimore and seeing the Ravens play the Ravens. But there were swaths of empty seats, tons of Redskins fans, tons of Raiders fans the last 2 weeks. And I'm calling it the death of the Baltimore sports fan. But what I think it is just people are a little priced out. They're a little tapped out on how much it cost, the investment in doing it. They're still watching the game at home on TV.
Well, that's ironic to me because Oriole tickets are easier and cheaper to get 10 years ago for me, because I've been there for games, than Red Sox tickets.
Yeah, you get a $49 flight down here. You spend a weekend with your family at the harbor. I'm familiar with that. I shot videos, all that stuff. I mean, there were 35,000, 40,000 Red Sox fans in that stadium, which left 10,000 Orioles fans. And right now you got 10,000 Orioles fans and 8,000 Red Sox fans, and such as a Tuesday night in September when they get together, right? I mean, that's where it is here. And I wrote long blogs, Tom. By the way, Tom King joining us here, Nashville Telegraph sports writer. Tom and I get after it. Telegraph _ Tom K. I wrote two pretty passionate blogs back in September about why people aren't going. And the thing from the optics standpoint for you is that the Nationals came and really did split the fan base. I mean, all the money, the rich people here came from south of Baltimore, from D.C., from Northern Virginia, Rockville, D.C. Beltway, D.C. proper,
right,
and
right.
they don't ever come anymore, ever,
right.
because they got their own baseball team. So,
because they have their own baseball team now, yeah.
so you've lost half the people that used to come to the games, and they've just been horrific human beings. They've been awful people. You know, a 37-year employee from Manchester, New Hampshire, put a gun in his mouth and shot and killed himself 4 years ago. These are the type of things that guys like me get a little unnerved about when we've been mistreated for 2.5 decades. So, and I don't mind reporting on the truth about why I don't go and why other people don't go, but they've done a horrific job. And baseball, when they're doing this stuff to Red Sox fans on Monday, by the way, the Dodgers tickets for Game 4 on Tuesday were selling for $7 and $8 the morning of the game when they played the Nationals in Game 4. And Kershaw's wound up pitching $7 or $8 online because they announced the game time on a Jewish holiday, major holiday, 2-day holiday.
Yes.
They announced the game time at 1 o'clock in the morning, and then they wonder why they have empty seats. Well, you have empty seats because you're not treating your customers right. Whatever that meant, I know a little bit about business. That's really the truth.
Yeah, no, you're right. You know, if there's interest and you treat your customers right, they'll come. There's no doubt about it.
For the Patriots, they have customers, and obviously Tommy's back. Big week this week for the Ravens, too. I mean, the Ravens go up to the Meadowlands. The Bengals are playing the Patriots. I mean, the Patriots can really give it to the Bengals here and sort of bury them underneath this week, and there's no reason to believe that they won't. The Patriots look like they haven't missed a step, and quite frankly, Brady looks as pissed off as we thought he would be, right?
Well, it looks as good as we thought it would be. I mean, it's not, you know, it's pretty easy to throw to a tight end who's wide open. and you know, two of them, you know, I mean, Gronkowski and Bennett. It's pretty easy to throw to a receiver who will go up and get the ball, and Chris Hogan. And, you know, he's got his favorites, too, in Julian Edelman and also Danny Amendola, and he's got a good running back in James White. So he's got a lot of weapons. The debate up here is, does he have as good an arsenal right now in terms of the good, you know, in terms of the targets and the receivers, not just wide receivers, but pass catchers? Does he have as good a group and as deep a group as he had back in 2007? Is this the deepest he's had? And the thing is, you saw why they had to do what they did last week against Buffalo, or, you know, be the game before the previous game that was just played, because they had a quarterback with a bad thumb who couldn't throw the ball effectively because of his thumb, and they had to dummy down the offense and really simplify things, and with a rookie and a whole bit, you know. So you saw that, and then you saw the difference when you had a quarterback who's a veteran of, you know, Hall of Fame veteran and who knows what to do, and a tight end who's gotten better every week, and Gronkowski with his hamstring. Let him do a few more things this week, run a few more patterns, the whole bit. You see all that. You also take into account that they were against the Cleveland Browns, who defensively are woeful. And
well, it was a nice time to have a preseason game, wasn't it, for Brady?
Yeah, exactly.
It really
was.
was.
This is the way it should be. Now, okay, fine. Cincinnati, little step up. Not playing real well right now. Let's see what they do. Let's see how they play in Gillette. They usually don't play very well there. They took a dynamite team there the year the Patriots went on to win the Super Bowl, and they came into Gillette heavily favored, and they lost. So, all right, let's move on from there. The real test, let's see what they do in Pittsburgh in two or 3 weeks. That's what you're going to look at. That's a game. You know, I went through it today in another story I wrote. What is out there ahead of them that could cause problems? They've got Pittsburgh. They've got Seattle. They've got Denver, assuming Denver gets, you know, this offense straightened out.
But I mean, are these really problems? Would 12-4 or 13-3 be a problem for them? I don't think so. You know,
let's see let's see. Every game is not going to be like the Cleveland game. Okay, what games are those going to be? Let's take a look at that and see what's going to happen down the road. They're going to, you know, it just seems to be already scripted for them that they'll win the AFC East, you know, and then go on from there. And all right, who's going to be around that could give them trouble when they go into the playoffs? And that's what everybody's thinking about. The whole thing in football, as you know, when you've got a team that's that good, Nestor, is health. Everybody's got to stay healthy.
Boy, that's Buffalo has sort of propped themselves up here all of a sudden, right? I mean, getting well, first off.
They played really well, and they shut out a offense that was quarterbacked by a kid who's, you know, 5 weeks into his first NFL season, and he's got a thumb that's wrapped that's going to have surgery this week. So, I mean, that's, you know, that's what they did. And even Rex Ryan admitted, he said, look, they were missing a guy, we weren't. So now let's look ahead. They play Buffalo last weekend in October in Buffalo. Let's compare the two games, and we'll see what happens.
We'll see how scary that is for Halloween weekend. Tom King is not scary. He can be found out at Telegraph_Tom K at the Nashua Telegraph as well as at ESPN New Hampshire. Hey, man, it's always great having you on, man, mixing it up a little bit with you. Ravens have been a little better than we thought. We'll see you guys that second week of December on that Monday night. Hope to run into you there. Maybe we'll have a bowl of chowder or something together. What do you think?
That'd be great, Nestor. I got one thought to leave you with.
Go ahead. Hit me.
The Ravens fired their offensive coordinator this week in Mark Trestman.
Yes.
The last time they did that in season, what did they do?
They won the Super Bowl.
Win the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I like the way you're talking. I mean, when you call in October and we're on a 2-game losing streak at home and you're talking about us winning the Super Bowl, I like it.
Thought. Just planting the seed there. That's all I'm doing.
So when I'm high-fiving you in Houston in the winner's circle in 14 weeks, I'll say it was all your idea.
That's right. Exactly.
Great having you on, Tom.
Words.
Hey, keep the faith up there, man. Enjoy the fall foliage of New England, man. It's beautiful up there this time of year.
Yes, it is.
You got it. Tom King, Telegraph_Tom K. 30 years, been covering sports up in the New Hampshire area for the Nashua Telegraph, as well as at ESPN New Hampshire. We love having him on, talking some sports with him. We love talking about the Red Sox getting eliminated now, don't we? Nasty at WNST.net reaches me. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on Facebook Live, as well as on our YouTube WNS TV channel. Anything you miss, you can find in the Bio Toyota Audio Vault at WNST.net. Sometimes I make myself laugh. The morning newspaper comes to you courtesy of Planet Fitness each and every morning at 7 a.m. And there's a Planet Fitness right around the corner from you. You know the drill there. Go get yourself in shape. Last but never least, when we do fire offensive coordinators, you get it first on the WNST Tech Service. It's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard, 9:33 a.m. It was in your pocket, in your hand, on your tech service. And we appreciate Dennis and Coons Ford sponsoring our WNST Tech Service. Big week. C.J. Mosley, Tuesday night at Buffalo Wild Wings at Owings Mills. Also, Zach Orr from the defense and Alex Lewis from the offense at Greenmount Station in Hampstead on Thursday night. Crab cakes, football conversation, and a bus trip up to the Meadowlands this week. We still got a couple seats left on that Giants bus if you want to hop on. Throw me an email or just click on that trips tab at WNST.net. I am Nestor. This is WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.